if you look at what's happening in our environment, and you find out that the youths are not even willing. You're talking about artisanship. I mean, people going into apprenticeship, you know, learn electricians, you know, plumbers,
tilers,
and all that. I mean, you don't find our youths wanting to do such, you know, such things.
And I'll give you reasons why. You see, let's go back to basics, like Mike had said. Factors of production. What are the factors of production? Normal business study, high school. Number one is land. Land talks about resources. Land talks about the normal land, talks about the capital, and talks about the labor, and talks about the enterprise. All these things are not there for those people to work. Give us light, give us electricity. Then you see people that have learned barbing, they've learned all this manual labor, they can't work, so they've taken to Okada, they've taken to Marwa, so because they have to survive, and the factors of production are not there.
Well, you did mention the need for government to provide what we would always say enabling environment. You talked about electricity, we talked about that. You know, talking about education, you know, when you said, okay, getting this training, this kind of training, a lot of people have blamed the educational sector for that. I don't know, do you share that same view that the problem of unemployment begins with the education sector?
Thank you very much. I think if I may have to reiterate again, I think on this platform I've actually mentioned it quite a few times. The foundation of that problem goes back to our technical schools. I mean, Nigeria used to be a country that are really proud of our technical ability, skill acquisition, and the capability to actually produce and mass people with technical skills. Now, if we look back now, I mean, the depreciation of our technical education in this country is really gone bad, and it's really gone down. I mean, you mentioned about plumbers, tilers, and painters, and so on and so forth. If you are into the construction industry, which is now one of the booming sectors in the economy, I mean, the experts in there, the artisan expert professionals, artisans in there that do all those works, the majority of them are actually not Nigerians. They actually have to be imported out, I mean, from Togo, from the Republic of Benin, to come in here to come and do those things. What's happened to our technical schools? Right, okay? Now, if we now move away from there a little bit to our normal formal educational sector, universities and so on and so forth. I mean, you mentioned that a lot of jobs were created because of the educational system. And to be honest with you, we could say that because we pump out tens of thousands of graduates from our university, and you put them into the NYSC scheme to go to schools to go and teach. And for me personally, I think I totally go against that scheme. What do I mean by this? Someone just graduated from university and you send the person to go and school in in primary school and secondary schools. That is absurd, because these people that you send to go and teach, honestly, still they're half-baked already. They're not trained to become. They still have to go through the professional scheme of being a teacher or a tutor. Now, when you send these people to go and teach in secondary school, in primary school, what sort of knowledge do you want them to impact on these people? So obviously what happens is you'll be counting those figures that they're putting them into employment. Maybe when they finish the NYSC scheme, they gain employment in schools, and that's not the way forward. We have a system which you want to be a tutor, you go through the educational system like College of Education, or you study BEd in university, and you have to go through that process. So I'm not going to agree with that figure.
That education created more jobs.
It's actually creating a time bomb that's going to explode soon, that's going to put everybody in a jeopardy status.
So are you trying to say that it's actually the NYSC students that are actually included in this survey, actually, as people being given a job in the education sector?
Because
these days they ask them to go to schools.
To schools, yeah. That's part of it. And when some of them finishes, I mean, end their program, the one-year program, they retain them. And some of them still go ahead because it will be on their CV. I've lectured in this nursery or primary school for 1 year. So automatically they think they qualify to become a teacher, and it becomes part of the figure. They actually, so I don't agree with it.
BC, you're itching to say something.
All right. When you look at a university is comprised of three things. Number one, you talk about university, you talk about faculty. Faculty talks about the people in there. Number two, you talk about curriculum, what they have been taught in there. Then number three, you talk about infrastructure. So you have faculty, you have curriculum, and you have infrastructures. In these three, what do we have? We only have the faculty, the people alone. Someone said that if a Nigerian university gets burnt today, we are not going to lose anything. Because the curriculum, look at curriculum, it's been said that by 2015, that 50% of what an engineering student is being taught in school will be available in software. Look at AutoCAD, look at things. Now you could tell a software to say, this is the kind of house I want to build, this is what I want, and a software will produce it for you. Are we producing our graduates to be that competitive? Now what now happens is that companies, even in formal sectors, now bring in people from abroad, Indians, Chinese, Japanese. You see, our competition is not the guy in the next door. Our competition is those guys in Norway, in Denmark, and they are fighting for the same jobs in Nigeria. They're coming to Nigeria, and they are going to pay them money as expatriates, and that's what is happening in Nigeria. So when you talk about that curriculum, when you talk about infrastructures are not there. They are not there at all. So now we need to do intentional training. We need to look at our curriculums. We need to look at our values. We are producing people to come out and to become employees. Are we changing our curriculum to tend towards entrepreneurship, not just entrepreneurship with mouth, entrepreneurship that tends towards manufacturing? So there should be, education has the highest number of employment according to the survey, and that's an irony, because there should be a handshake between education and other sectors. So now what we need to do now is we need to begin to set up R&D centers in our universities. Then we need to begin to prepare them for the real world that is outside, because our education and training, and I like what GJ said, our education is not producing people for the real world.
Yeah. Okay, let's quickly take a look at the reasons for hiring. Some of the reasons National Bureau of Statistics reeled out, perhaps from their finding, and we could see that business expansion is actually the major reason for companies to hire just for business expansion. What's your take?
Let me take that. You see, it is tough for a startup. To start a business is very tough in Nigeria. It's been said that if you give a guy that is starting out in US $10,000, the guy is not going to spend so much on electricity, he's not going to spend so much on accommodation. But if you give a guy in Lagos $10,000, it's been said that Lagos is one of the most toughest places to do business. So it is better for business that have been to expand than for new businesses to come in. That's what's actually happening. That's actually the picture they're about.
So that is right.
That is right. That is right in a way. In fact, sorry.
You seem to disagree with this, Mike.
Let me just buttress into what he just said now. You see, I run business in the UK as well, likewise in Nigeria as well. What we don't have in here, we don't have that support for new business startup. You see, in the UK, for example, if you start a business, you see, between the first and the 3 years, that's when the lives of a business can be measured, because most businesses die within the first and 3 years. Now, it's very important that a government should have a policy to make sure the support for a startup business is in place. I mean, in the UK, you have things like business angels, who are NGOs, and some other ones who actually come to your support voluntarily, to actually support you, guide you about your insurance, about advertising, about where to locate your business, and so on and so forth. And also the banks. I keep talking about the financial institution. I mean, we can't have the double-digit interest rate and you expect a business to prosper, right? And the reason why most business collapses in Nigeria is they borrow the money from the bank and they can't afford to pay back, so they go down the drain. And so it's a policy that the government needs to look into to begin to actually appreciate that the fact that the banks are not really helpful to the economy.
Well, of course, looking at that statistics again for reasons for hiring, that buttresses the need for skills acquisition.
Yes,
say that that's the second reason why organizations hire. They're looking for new skills, requiring new skills.
Yeah, can I just quickly say this for 1 second? I think we should. I want to encourage our politicians to begin to desist from what they call the empowerment whatsoever. it doesn't, well, you see, the UNDP doesn't measure that as part of human development.
Okay.
Let them begin to invest in skill acquisition, not empowerment, because you buy all the things for people, they don't even have the skill to operate them in anyway, so why are you doing all that?
So skills development.
Skill development and skill acquisition, that's what we should be talking about now.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Very
I mean,
much
if we
welcome.
continue with that, we wouldn't we'll spend the whole day talking about that. Well, thank you very much. Well, we've been looking at unemployment situation here in Nigeria and looking at some of the figures released by National Bureau of Statistics as to how many jobs were created in the first quarter and second quarter of this year. And of course here, my discussants here are talked about the need for intentional training and of course for us to look at our curriculum to tend towards empowerment, look at our values and of course develop our skills. Well, it's on that note that we'll say thank you for being part of the program today, and do remember to join us again same time tomorrow. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. Have a beautiful